meeting for July 12th. Can start off with approval of the minutes.
Now we just started.
We can just, okay, a retake on that. I'd like to start the meeting for July 12th. Call the meeting to order and start off with the approval of minutes.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion on the minutes? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Nay? No nays, minutes passed. Audience comments, any comments?
No audience here, and we had no emails that came in. I've been checking the email, so it was posted a week early on the agenda on the website.
Okay, the agenda says push to call to order, but I did it already, so uncall and call it again. So we're called to order. All right. Correspondence and announcements. PACD June monthly report.
Yeah, I just wanted to let everybody know the PACD June month report, the reports we get every month, they break it down into their in our long-term plan. So the items that they're supposed to do. So everything that you see on that report is things that are meeting their annual work program. And they've been very busy of late. One of the things that they sent us an announcement of, and I don't know the details yet, but the budget for the State Department of Agriculture transferred to the Conservation District Fund $2,669 million. Last year it was only $869 million, so it more than tripled the allocation. That's the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection transferred to the Conservation District Fund was $7.516 million, and last year was only $2.506 million, so it tripled as well. We don't know what that'll mean or what the state will come up with different programs, but that is I know a lot of districts were having problems because the funding hasn't increased for over 20 years. So they know that they put a big push on Lancaster and stuff and started giving back programs, some agricultural programs. So they knew that they were having problems funding the thing. So hopefully it's going to be beneficial for us.
So is that's funding for this year's budget, or is that?
That's for next year's budget.
Oh, that's for next
Yeah,
year.
this is the money that goes into the account, and I don't know the status either. Like, did the governor sign it yet? But they made it sound like the governor was going to sign it.
Right. Okay.
They agreed to. So I know that they had a big push on through the PACD to try to get additional funding for districts, and they were very elated when the news came across that was the way the budget was. So how that'll affect us, we'll have to wait and see when it goes through the State Conservation Commission. They'll come up with ways to allocate the funding.
Great, thank you. All right, I'd like to, can anyone make a motion to file all the bank statements for audit? I'd like to entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion. Yeah, just for clarification, you'll see that the bank statement, the United Savings Banks decided that they were going to try to combine all the statements for their individual customers in one statement if they had multiple accounts. So they tried to do it for business, and it just didn't work out. You couldn't even find out what you had. Plus, they went to a system where if we didn't have any checks, then they didn't give us a statement. So that just didn't work for us. So I did call Chad McGordy, who's the vice president down there, and he agreed to go back to the old system for us. So he sent me printout statements, so we'll have an accurate statement for each one of our accounts. So some of these aren't accurate. The one with the most activity was the affiliate fund checking, and that is for last month. You'll see the other ones are not. So we couldn't figure out which was where right now, but we'll have it for the next meeting.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion to file all the bank statements. So we'll vote on them all together, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And then next meeting, we'll repeat it once I get it all straightened out.
Okay.
For the new procedure.
Okay, so I think, Vince, you made that motion, right? Okay, I need a second for that.
I'll second that.
Okay, thanks, Randy. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, passes. Okay. Okay, that brings us to emergency reviews. Any comments on that, Ed?
Yeah, we had one, in June for UPS, one Hog Island Road, Finicum Township, for $1,800.
We have, we'd like to request a motion on approving the 1,800. Okay, thank you. Any second? Okay, thanks. Second by Vince. All right, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? The motion passes.
Yeah, this is, right next to their current hub. They have another area, and, who has that? Do you have that one?
I don't think either one of us has picked it up yet.
Okay, so it hasn't been reviewed yet, but basically it's a little area. They originally had a plan where they were going to build a second building, 25 acres on the thing. This isn't that big. This is just, right next to the existing hub that they've already built. So it's an area that's already been graded off and padded off that they have, but it's not, I don't know the exact size of it.
All right, checks to be signed, old business, conservation, poster contest.
I think we just need a motion.
There's a motion, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Okay, all right, so I need a motion on each of the checks, checks to be signed. Okay. Should it be for all of them, Ed?
Well, we just need, we're right up here. We got to do this one first.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay.
Yep.
All right, I'm sorry. I'd like to, entertain a motion, for the reimbursement of Newtown Township for the remainder of their low volume road grant. The remaining balance is $30,453.50 for completion of their projects. Anyone make that motion? Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. And any discussion?
Karen, you just want to highlight you did the inspection of and all the work was done?
Yes. So this is the second low volume road project that is completed in Delaware County. So Newtown Township, they were having scouring along the side of their road. I believe it was Glendale Road in Newtown Township. And they are attempting to alleviate the issue by installing some perforated piping underneath the side of the road and putting river rock on top of that. So that'll help some of the stormwater infiltrate and slow it down.
Great. We'd like to have a vote on that. All those in favor of the motion, please say yay.
Aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion passes. All right, now checks to be signed. Okay.
Well, there's no other checks to be signed.
Okay, I got you. Now we're going to old business.
Yes.
Thank you. All right. Okay, conservation poster constant. Now, Michelle.
Okay. Yeah, so we kind of had a low amount of posters submitted this year. I think maybe we got it out a little too late, just trying to get some more directive from the state on the digital portion of the contest. But all first place posters were emailed to the state on June 30th, so we're waiting to hear from them. Thank you to all who voted.
Thank you, Michelle.
No.
Invasive species control, boat cleaning trailer demonstration. Karen?
Yeah, so this is called the CD3 Mobile Boat Cleaning Unit, and it's available. I think it's available to southeastern Pennsylvania counties, and it's a trailer that's outfitted with hoses and vacuums to clean boats coming out of the water that are traveling to multiple water bodies to prevent the spread of invasive species. Specifically, obviously, aquatic invasive species. And we're trying to coordinate with the Ridley Township Municipal Marina, but it's been a little challenging to get in touch with them. And obviously, this is their very busy season, so it's even more challenging now, but we're trying to work with the Fish and Boat Commission and the new person over at Pennsylvania Sea Grant to coordinate maybe a week or two of setting this unit up there as a demonstration, educational piece, and also to temporarily clean boats and just raise awareness for the spread of invasive species. So we're hoping that, you know, if we can coordinate this by the end of summer, that we can have it set up hopefully sometime in August.
That's great. Thank you, Karen. The grant, next item is the grant application to model pollutant run on off estimates from the county-owned property and effectiveness of existing PCSM BMPs. All right, Karen, you can explain that.
So we did develop and submit a Growing Greener grant application to DEP for a Delaware County Stormwater Management Plan. And this plan is somewhat similar to a pollutant reduction plan that is required of municipalities. The pollutant reduction plan for municipalities requires them to measure pollutant loads coming off of their properties and entering their storm sewer systems. And it also requires them to come up with specific projects to implement on their properties to reduce those pollutant loads. So our proposal is to measure what's coming off of county-owned properties. What would be coming off the county-owned properties if there were no controls? So that's those post-construction stormwater management controls. If there were no basins or naturalized areas, riparian buffers, you know, what would be the pollutant loads coming off of there? What is the benefit that those PCSM BMPs are contributing to the pollutant loads now? And, you know, what are some ways that we can maximize our benefit when we install future projects?
And it's not actually measuring pollutants, it's modeling. So it's based on estimates. I forget what the name of the model is that the land study recommended, and
Model My Watershed.
Model My Watershed. That was the same one that the Eastern Delaware County Stormwater Collaborative used. We had a meeting with Elaine and Karen, and Elaine and, not Elaine, but Jamie and Karen Hole, yeah, to go over how they did theirs. And hopefully we put in a grant application for like 25,000.
Yeah.
To try to model that, to see what our BMPs are actually reducing, what type of controls, and we're putting riparian buffers in, and we're doing some water quality basin improvements, how we can get that information to the municipalities so they can take credit for it in their MS4 reporting.
They can use the private county programs towards their account.
The one consultant said, no, DEP is not very clear, because what DEP had said when they did the PRPs is they had to come up with a whole list of things, but everybody, that list of projects, but a lot of those municipalities, the projects fall through or they get other ideas. So we have to convince the DEP and how we can submit the information to give them credit that they're doing the pollution reduction. Just the whatever method they want to do to make sure that they can get credit for it. So we could do one for the one at Fair Acres, and then we could do one when we get Smedley Park underway. And those two, the ones what I was thinking of right away. In no sense, Springfield and Middletown shouldn't benefit from that work that we're doing.
What is the grant, you know, the grant program?
Growing Greener.
Scope of work would be to hire a consultant.
Yes. Yeah, we did, like I mentioned, we had a brief discussion with land studies. And, you know, we indicated our ideas, and we had an idea of what the collaboratives project costs when they hired land studies to do their PRP, and ours is kind of, like I said, a simplified version of that. So based on our discussions, it's how we came up with about $25,000.
The thing that the reason it's different than a PRP is that we weren't required to do it, and we weren't. But I talked to Francine about doing it for the Sustainability Commission, just so we have an idea of what our facilities are adding to the pollutant loading, if at all, and to determine how we can reduce that if we do need to reduce it. So that was the goal of this study. But we don't have to design the projects ahead of time and get everything approved and analyzed as the municipality is required to do.
Right.
We can look for things and take advantage of projects as we can come across them or develop them.
Is every property, prison, Fair Acres, everything?
Yes, the whole 19 or 20, no, 21 of them, I think.
Yeah, well, there's, like, for example, Mineral Hill, I don't believe has any BMPs on it. So we would not spend a lot of time on areas like that.
Yeah, and just determine if any of the parks, they consider in this model, whether that has any potential for runoff in past years. So I don't know how this model works. That's model my watershed. So that is what every municipality had to do. I have only seen the Eastern Delaware counties. I have not seen anything from other municipalities on what they're doing or what they're not doing. But we're not having many projects coming in, so I'm thinking it's a slow process of people actually doing these projects to get the credits they need.
Sounds like we're only looking at facilities that exist now and not really projecting the future. When new facilities might be built for projected parks facilities or buildings.
So, I mean, it would consider whatever existing properties there are.
Mhm.
Are you talking about the BMPs that might be
Park
installed?
properties that we recently acquired.
Yes, it would depend on when the grant, is awarded and.
We won't be able to not put post-construction stormwater in when we develop the new parcel.
Right.
So we'll have the water quality benefit on any new things that we do. We
Yeah.
just won't, and we probably have enough of it at the prison because they're relatively new and have BMPs. So most of our projects that have been developed in recent years, Fair Acres is probably the one that we have fewest water quality type benefits. We have stormwater controls, but not water quality. Other than the building 19, the big building, goes into a pond treated there. So hopefully they can give us an idea of how much benefit that pond does to water quality.
So you're looking at it to like improve the existing, so like an example would be like what, vegetation on the bottom? Like the existing
Yes, this was
vegetation?
very similar to what was done for how much greenhouse gases and stuff are given off by the buildings when they did the evaluation of the buildings on county-owned facilities. Now we're just going to take that one step further and evaluate the runoff from our parkland and even all our facilities to make sure that we're in compliance and helping the municipality meet the goals of reducing pollution.
That's kind of good. Okay, moving on to new business. Summer intern candidate interviewed and accepted.
Yeah, we're trying to get through this now. We did have the budget. We transferred money over from Connor's position. When Connor left, we had some extra in the account, so we had enough to cover the student intern, which we did interview and accepted somebody. And I don't know exactly when they're starting. They're having some trouble getting the paperwork all through and signed and stuff. But what was his last name? Nico Maniak or something?
Miani.
Miani. Yeah, and it's from
He's from Villanova and he attends Skidmore College.
Skidmore. That's what I was trying to say. Hard when you get back from vacation.
Especially right.
Yeah, but Skidmore. So yeah, and he has an working on environmental degree.
Thought you were gonna say it was another student.
No, he didn't go to Villanova.
Good from Ryder Township.
Well,
It's like I'm a Drexel guy there, right? Smedley Park, the meeting with PADOT.
So I was out at Smedley Park looking for vernal pools with some folks from Penn State Extension a couple weeks ago, and we had walked underneath one of the 476 overpasses, and someone pointed out really bad erosion on the embankment leading up to where 476 obviously meets the ground and the overpass ends. So we contacted PennDOT, sent them a video of the area, and then they came out with their consultants to do a site visit and to see what the issue was. And they did find that their the stormwater collection area, I guess there's the overpass meets the road, You've probably seen them by the metal teeth that allows the overpass to move. And underneath that, they do have something to trap the stormwater and direct it away and down through a pipe below the slope. Really cool to see. But the trap had torn off. So all the water was going through those teeth and washing down the slope, scouring out the slope and depositing the sediment on a level area below and then also into the stream below. So they identified the issue and they do plan on getting out there and fixing it.
Yeah, it was a significant amount of erosion gully going down off. It's an unnamed tributary to Chrome Creek.
Yeah, and they, you know, I asked if they would put riprap up the slope, but the logistics of getting machinery back there to do that didn't make sense. So for safety, you know, I asked that they at least level out the scouring because some of the ditches were as high, maybe even higher.
Because that area is being used by mountain bikers, so.
Whether they're allowed to or not.
You're the north end where you were doing. the
Right
project,
above, between the soccer fields and the baseball field.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a green trail. Look up to the left.
Okay.
Structures built there with mountain bikers?
No, just, yeah, they just use, I think that slopes because there's no vegetation there, nothing, yeah, nothing can grow there, so that's why all that soil's exposed. Why there's so much erosion.
It was always a big problem, even when they built the Blue Route. They had these scupper pipes, and the scupper pipes, they were discharged right underneath the bridge, and they would come down. So we made them pipe them all the way down to the creek, which fixed the problem until they didn't maintain them anymore, and then they had the problem where, like they said, that whole rubber thing that collected all the stormwater somehow got torn away. So I don't know how long it's been like that, but thanks, Karen. Me and Dave Fisher from the environmental manager from PennDOT met with Karen, and it was good to get fast. You know, they've not fixed it yet, but at least the acknowledgement of the problem. So hopefully they'll address it soon.
Thanks, Karen. Good observation there. Good resolving. All right, elevated review, new directives from the region on this process.
Yeah, I just wanted to, our regional office asked us not to do elevated reviews because they just didn't have the time. That was basically it developed over time. This is in the SOP for how do you handle permit reviews. They are short-staffed and couldn't meet the demand of elevated reviews. So we developed a system where sometimes if the only time that we would send up a project for an elevated review is if the engineer and myself would get into a discussion or disagreement about who was right and who was wrong. And then we'd have a third party come in, which very, very rarely happen. I think just so everyone knows what's going to happen now is we're allowed to review the plan once. And then when we do it a second time, if it still has significant issues, we're not to issue another letter. We're supposed to go right to an elevated review. And the elevated review would mean that the developer would have to meet with DEP, maybe not. It's not specific. DEP could decide just to let me do a meeting with them and decide how to proceed. And if they didn't want to correct the problem, then the permit could be reviewed as is and possibly more denials. So it could slow down the process. That's what I'm concerned about, not progressing, waiting for the DEP to schedule the meetings and things like that. So if you hear about slowing the process down or not reviewing plans twice, that's the way the SOP was written, and that's the way the state central office wants us to do it for a while. So I think they'll generate, if we actually did it exactly as the SOP, it's going to generate a lot of complaints. And the answer is the same. You just it actually takes more time to do the elevated review than it does the regular review. It's a system, I think, that the executive branch made up to deal with the problems of the legislators always saying that the reviews were taking too long. So they put this system in place and it didn't help the developers. It actually slowed the process down, and it made it more likely that it would be more argumentative system, in my opinion, rather than just progressing. The only time that we really need to worry about somebody helping, needing to have a third party come in is when there's a disagreement. It happens, I'm not perfect and they're not perfect, and sometimes we don't know exactly what to do. It's nice to have a third party come in, but most of the time it's just the engine, even like the PennDOT plans are terrible. They come in, we work on them, and they're the low bid print. And sometimes they're just not ready for prime time when they get them submitted here. So you review it again. If it's a long letter, there's no way you're going to not have a second letter, because when they fix stuff, the things that they fix need to be commented on because they didn't do that right. It's naive to think that when we continue to change our regulations and update the way we're looking at things, that everyone in the state that submits plans can do it flawlessly. It just doesn't happen, but never happened since I've been here.
That was an internal directive, change in the procedure.
Well, it's not an internal, it's sort of like the regional, he came up with an agreement that we were all going to follow 2 weeks before. And I think he got his hands slapped that they want to be consistent. And he said everybody else in the state was doing it this way. My opinion is that state official was not intentionally lying to us. I'm just thinking that he's not being told the truth, because I know the districts that they're not actually doing that. Because like I said, third reviews are pretty common.
Yeah, you don't go back and forth.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Hopefully it'll work progressively.
Yeah, it could be a problem, it could be a real issue. I mean,
yeah.
the
When we-
legislators are complaining to the EP and try to fix it, but they made it tougher. And they had more pushback from.
Yeah, it would have been easier just to say, the problem with the backlog, it's not that the backlog, the backlog and permit. Some projects get put on the side because they're waiting for something, that pendy clearance, they're waiting for bog turtle. And DEP, you can go through the process without the bog turtle clearance, but you can't get issued the permit. Well, that looks like to the legislators that it's sitting there taking a long time to do. So they rather than coming up with a system that having a side channel, that these aren't being in the process to review, they're being on hold. But you don't count those, they come up with this whole other scenario. But we'll see how it works out. But it's going to be more work for us, because now we have to coordinate with the regional office every time we go past our first review and have to make a second review.
You can like talk to the applicant to make corrections
If
without.
there's minor things that can be corrected, and they say in 2 days,
Right.
I don't know how many times you can correct things in 2 days. I don't even know where they came with 2 days. The system works, and that's why we agreed with the regional office when we were doing it this way, because 9 times out of 10, they're going to come back, and it's going to be between me and the design engineer to review the plan. So it's going to be the same thing, only with the third person involved taking up more time. But we'll get through it.
And just keep an eye on it. So
Yeah, I just wanted, in case you hear complaints.
Right, okay, we
It's
can-
not a new procedure. It's not, we're not being the ones that require this new. And it actually hurt other districts, because we don't have that fee, but other districts are actually charging for their second review. So they didn't have that. We never instituted the second review fee, because I thought that would be unfair to do charge a fee, because I could always make comments. And I was
You take away an engineer's ability to finally make that last comment that'll help out a project
Right.
without waiting for state approval.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yep.
And it could go smoothly.
Yeah. That's it.
Okay, well, thank you for that input. Keep an eye on it. All right, report from the cooperating agencies. We have Beth and Linda.
Hi, this is Francine Locke. Linda Mackey is not able to talk. She has a problem with her mic, but she did put a message in the chat box that she would like us to share. And she said she only had one thing to say beyond the SCC DEP report that was sent. It was to hugely praise Ed for his audio assistance during our recent roundtable. He was the rock star who made it possible with all of his equipment that made it possible for the program staff from central office to join. She said, "Thank you, Ed."
All right, Ed. That's nice.
Thank you. Thank you, Linda. I know you can hear.
Okay, so moving on to Ed's report.
Yeah, you have a copy of my report. A few things I'd like to highlight. We did submit our budget request was submitted on time for next year. And we did, back in 1997, we did a music video, and I thought this was entertaining. When I was cleaning up my house, and it is my wife's craft room now, when the kids moved out, we have a craft room. And she found the copy of the VHS tape, and I took the VHS tape and converted it to a MP4 format and put it back on our YouTube page. And almost overnight, we got 400 some views on that video. So it's still applicable for, it was about a storm sewer music video that we put out that storm sewers don't run to the sewer plant and it's non-point source pollution. So it was made for elementary school kids, and it's still applicable today, even after all those years. And the final thing I have is that you'll see that the work on the erosion and sediment control list is, I didn't have time because Gina was on vacation the week that I was getting ready to go on vacation. And when she got back, I always try to concentrate my efforts to do as many plan reviews as I can. So we got 23 plan reviews done, but I didn't have them all entered into the computer. So that's why we don't have the official report. The only one that I really outstanding at this point is the PennDOT, and they're on their third review after the elevated review for the 103 section of 322. I did do the one that they asked for first, which was the CXX review of the bridge for 322. So that's been done. So that's the only, I think really the only one we have outstanding, since I concentrated on that before vacation.
Thank you, Ed. Let's say we're going with Michelle next.
Okay. Yeah, for the month of June, we still had a steady flow of NPDS permits coming in, and also a good amount of notice of termination forms. So their reviews will probably be on the July report. But the only thing I wanted to highlight was I'm a part of an NOT work group meeting that consists of some DEP employees as well as conservation district staff throughout the state. And so we had our first meeting on June 24th, and we're trying to make the NOT process, or at least what applicants need to submit, a little bit clearer. And they're looking for our input on how to do that. So we're going to be meeting once a month for at least the next year. So, you know, if there's any suggestions or input that I can bring to the table, be more than open to suggestions. So.
Okay. Thanks, Michelle.
Yep, and that's all I have. If anyone has questions.
Ari, if you want to go next.
Yeah, of course. So I don't really have anything particular to highlight. I was very busy with inspections. That's been kind of keeping me on my toes lately. Finally was able to deem the wastewater treatment tunnel project complete. So that's currently getting its technical review. Other than that, if there are any questions or comments, please let me know.
Okay. If there's no questions, Karen.
Yeah, so I highlighted much of the things in my report, but I did want to mention the team from NRCS has been in the area digging holes, getting their soil samples. They are still in the process of updating the soil survey. I don't think it's been updated since
1960.
1960, yeah. So they're focusing on Delaware County because so much of Delaware County is labeled as made land or disturbed soils, which isn't wrong. But they're sampling in open spaces right now. Specifically, I think they looked at a park in Norwood, they were in Folcroft, Tinicum, and they were in Smedley Park. And they're able to identify more soil characteristics and assign more specific, I guess, characterizations to, the soil in those areas instead of just mainland. So they're working on that, and they'll be up and down. They're actually coming from Maryland, so they'll be in the area a couple times this summer doing those samples. And then the only other thing was I did spend a lot of time developing the grant application to Growing Greener for the stormwater management plan. And we did close out our spotted lanternfly control program grant for the year. So our final purchase for that was the reusable circle traps rather than the plastic bags. They come with jars. So that's all I wanted to highlight.
Okay, great. Karen, any questions for Karen? Okay. Yeah, we have erosion and sediment control plan reviews. I guess they're just in the material, right? Or,
Yeah, it should be on the list.
yeah.
Report.
And then any questions regarding the E&S plan reviews? Okay, any individual request for assistance, it says none. So, next meeting would be, it's combined August and September on August 30th.
Yeah, the ENS reviews. I should look first. It's on the back, the very back page. I looked at it.
Okay. 'Cause we don't normally, just somebody has questions, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So yeah, we're ready to entertain a motion to adjourn. Anybody wants to make a motion?
So moved.
I'll make a motion to adjourn. Or, Randy, it's all yours.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay. I don't think there's any discussion on that. So, all right, all in favor? All right, so
Aye.
the meeting's adjourned.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Ray. Thanks, Ed.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Stop recording.
Say that now.